Welcome to Ed's Not Dead. I'm Robbie Dodd. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. C.H. Siddons. Hey, Casey.
Hey, welcome back.
Happy Friday night, man.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. And, of course, Mr. Peter Crable. Hey, Mr. Krabs.
Hey, good evening, Dr. Dodd.
And this is Ed's Not Dead. As always, we're brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. Dudes, it is awesome to be back. You can find us at Ed's Not Dead PC on Twitter. And, of course, check out the website, edsnotdead.com. We are doing a Friday night recording of END, which I like a lot, I have to say.
Yeah, no
much
pressure
to
early.
Much to the chagrin of my wife.
It does affect the domestic life, but it's much easier on the professional life, right?
This is true.
This is true.
Well, I think my wife is watching Anchorman tonight, so I'm not sure she's missing me too much.
Oh, man, I want to watch that.
She's with Ron.
Yeah, yep. Ron Burgundy.
I bet Mr. Siddons can do a couple good.
He can do. He's got all the lines.
Yeah, come on.
The arsonist has oddly shaped feet.
That's what
Human Torch. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
You can't do. You can't do any of the inappropriate ones, which tend to be my favorite.
There were some additional segments that I always loved, which was they didn't put it in the movie, but it was when he tried out for ESPN and the Weather Channel when they first started.
Right.
And one of them was for ESPN, and he said, Espen, what the heck does that mean? 24-hour news network? That'll never work.
All right. Well, that's Jenna. More power to her. We have a great show tonight. We're going to do some show feedback. This may be the first time in a full season that we've done show feedback, and we actually have some. And are we doing the Ask the Guest, Ask the Host segment tonight, Mr. Siddons, as you just mute yourself?
What do you mean?
The mailbag?
The mailbag.
Oh,
I knew it had
it's a separate.
We're gonna do that as its own episode
release. Yeah.
Oh, that's
for people to have during the holiday season.
Casey's gonna cold call us and just call out questions, and we're gonna be put on the spot and have to respond to them.
All right.
That's right.
Well, that's okay. Well, I missed the memo on that. It was its own episode. Sorry about that. So we're going to talk about whether math is racist or not, which is an incredibly misleading title to an article that made Mr. Siddons blood boil as he tweeted us this week in the morning, early morning at like
clickbait. It was very. I think it was 5:58.
Yeah, was that how early it was?
It was before 6 o'clock.
I'm so sorry.
And the exact words were, "It made his blood boil."
I did not know I said that so early.
So we're going to get into that and a new math framework in California because of their below standard math scores. They have a new monstrous math framework that is largely driven by a very well-known and respected educator at this time, Joe Bowler. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, let's get into some feedback. Let's hear it, Mr. Siddons. What do you have from the huge Ed's Not Dead following?
All right. Well, we have a couple comments. We have from iTunes. Thank you for going on to iTunes. If you rate us on iTunes and you provide comments, it actually helps our visibility on iTunes and other places you get podcasts. So thank you for that. Megan said, amazing content. We appreciate it very much. And then it also said, Robbie, Pete, in case you do such a good job covering a variety of topics. The guests offer valuable insight as well. I would recommend this podcast to anyone looking to be inspired and informed. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Wunderbar. And then on Twitter, our old friend Dylan Antonucci, he was tweeting about his favorite podcast, and I threw him some shade and was curious as to why it was not Ed's Not Dead. And apparently we're still in his top queue, in the top 3 maybe.
I think he said top 5. Yeah,
I'll take top 5. That's fine.
It better be a top 5. That better not have just been playing to the crowd that he said that.
Listen, I'm going to follow up with him and find out.
I think you should.
Person.
Well,
and
look at stats if you could.
I'd like to. I gave him his first job. I'll go back and take it away. I mean,
you need to take that right away. Hold that over his head.
He should always say we're number one. He's got a living wage right now.
And then we got some feedback from our old friend Francis Frost, who has been a fan, and Ed's Not Deadhead since really day one. And we got some back and forth about Thanksgiving food choices and some questionable choices about whatever corn casserole. No idea.
She and I, we were on a Zoom call recently, not our own, but a large group that we're on. And she mentioned the corn casserole. And I have some screenshots, Francis, of the corn casserole that, yes, I'm supposed to text you. I will do that. And thank you. She has been 5 seasons. She has been with us the whole way.
Yes, absolutely.
She used to get highly irritated with us back in the early days. I don't know if she does anymore.
Well, she is. I hope she leaves us some feedback about her irritation now. I mean, like, we need to get people fired up. That's what gets listens, right?
Yeah.
So, and last for our set of feedback from a listener, Sarah, who said, and it's not my wife, who I don't think Sarah listens to our podcast. Do you, Sarah? Love the listener, Sarah, loved the SEL section. And then listening to the summary of the article was cringy. And I agree that it was cringy. It's cringy to listen to. It's cringy to read. And then for those of you who disagree with SEL, she said, would love for them to come to my school in Kensington, which is a highly impacted neighborhood in Philadelphia, and say SEL is not needed. So there's some other support for SEL in schools. So thank you all for your feedback. Keep it coming. Rate us on iTunes.
Yeah, we've not pushed that recently, but it does help us greatly. And it makes me feel good. So that's super important as well.
That's probably the most important point, is to make Peter feel good.
Thank you.
I thought our back and forth about Robert Pandicio would garner a little bit more. I wonder if he heard anything about our discussion. I know he's so tuned in to Ed's Not Dead. But,
so I did mute him on Twitter just because it was getting me angry. And I thought about tweeting. I thought about tweeting through Ed's Not Dead, like, at him, but I just don't want to add to the negative vibe that just comes with getting more clicks and stuff on Twitter because you get people angry. I just didn't want to be a part of that.
You're trying to be a positive tweeter.
Yeah, but Casey needs to make up his mind about social media. He made this overly theatrical statement on Instagram recently. This is going to be my last post.
Okay. Casey?
No, it wasn't last post. It's just,
that's
it's
so
last
weird.
Post. It's a last post for a long time.
You need, what are you, like an addict? You need to like go on the.
No, it's not bringing me happiness, and it's not. I don't know. I just don't think it's healthy. Is that okay with you?
It is okay with me, and I know.
Okay, as long as it's okay with you, and then I'm validating your feelings. Then I feel
it's
good
just
about
your relationship with social media is so fraught.
It's very hot and cold.
It is. It gets you going.
It does, and it's gotten a lot better because I've muted a lot of people and unfollowed a lot of people on Twitter, and it's been a lot more positive.
Okay, well that's good. Just keep canceling people.
Every time I would say, like, I want to be off Twitter, you'd be like, well, who's going to do our tweets for Ed's Not Dead?
I know, it's true. I mean, some of it's selfish. We need you, and you're very good. He's skilled on social media, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree. You always know which tweets I've done because they're a little dry.
They are.
As I said, listen today.
We are good. Listen today, please. Thank you.
As I said in our last show about Mr. Krabs and moting, that's you've got to be able to emote a little bit when you. It's
probably a valuable skill for social media.
Yeah,
we should get Kozlowski to Mr. Koz to do our tweets for us, because he gets people angry on Twitter. He'll send me screenshots of exchanges he's had, and I'm like, it actually makes me nervous.
Does Mr. Koz still listen to the show at all?
He does.
Okay,
let's give him the keys of the kingdom and just
he'd be good.
Piss everybody off.
All right. So the question is math racist? So Casey, as we mentioned before, sent this piece in USA Today to us, I think Wednesday morning or yesterday morning, before the sun was up. And it was from USA Today. And I figured it was just clickbait, but then Casey's followed up with an opinion piece in the Washington Post by Christine Emba, "Is Math Racist?" and Wrong Question. She leads off by saying, "Is math racist?" The answer is no, of course. Then she goes on to say, the question headlined a story about how some schools are considering altering the way they teach math to better serve struggling K-12 students. So this was really about, largely about California and the change that they've made to their math framework. They've rolled out a massive new math framework that does take what was pretty popular a few years ago, at least locally, trying to make math more relevant to kids. And a couple of the things that have really tweaked some people are notably that relevance piece, which includes grounds math or math instruction, especially at the elementary level and the middle school level, in contexts that are familiar to kids. So you might have questions that are related to equations that are related to a living wage, or the word problems, or whatever math context they're offering might reflect more diversity, or reflect the communities that they live in. And then another major trigger point is kind of a move away from tracking, that kids that show giftedness in math early on are not necessarily pulled out or tracked or get the kind of gifted and talented instruction, that you have a more heterogeneity in math classes. And in California in particular, they've moved to more of an integrated math model that has that might integrate geometry, algebra, and that algebra is now recommended not to be taught until grade 9. So you have a kind of a structural change in the scope and sequence of math courses, and the developmentally appropriateness of when subjects like algebra are taught. And then you have this idea of a backdrop of social justice in math, making math more relevant to communities of color or marginalized communities. Some of the critics say that we're just really doubling down on marginalizing kids by just telling a story of that math is hard and they can't do it, so we need to give you an easier version of it. Christine Emba basically finds, fellas, that what's wrong with making math more accessible for more kids? I think that's really kind of her point. And she cites that she struggled in math and she didn't know why. And if we can find ways to not have kids check out in math, that's a good thing. It's not necessarily woke or leftist. It's just trying to teach math better. So what was your take on her position on this? And we've had the math conversation before. Should it be a part of the culture wars, or is there a good discussion to have about how it's taught?
I when I sent that article to you, first of all, sorry for sending it at 5 in the morning. I didn't realize I was sending it so early.
What was that? Yes, you did. You were up and you sent it.
I said I didn't mean to. I didn't know. It just was like it was impulsive. Anyway, I think the first thing I wanted to share was the USA Today article itself. They changed the headline, first of all. Is math education racist? So they changed it to how talking about how, at least the headline shares, about how we actually teach the subject. So I think from a broader perspective, it's how the media covers education. It's just another example of the failure of media. And then the other piece of it is it was behind a paywall. Interestingly, it's not behind a paywall anymore. So after they got backlash about the headline and the byline, they clearly opened it up to more people to actually read. And because if you read the comments on Twitter, it wasn't great for teaching, for trying to be more inclusive about how we teach kids. And I think the opinion piece that I shared, Is Math Racist? Wrong Question, by Christine Emba. I think she brings up all the things that like go through my mind about where we are with math instruction in our country, and I, at least in my own experience, I feel like it's the last vestige of tracking in schools that really put kids into different boxes and really sets them up for success or lack thereof in high school and beyond. That's just my opening thought.
Oh, that's the opening salvo, Mr. Krabs.
Well, I don't want to ramble on too much, but I want to hear what Mr. Crable says.
And I will tell you, Mr. Crable was one of the first people that I ever heard that years ago, 10 years ago, he was railing against the show-do method of math instruction.
Yep.
I remember that correctly, don't I, Mr.
You do, absolutely, yeah. And I think that at the heart of it, in that opinion piece in the post, where she gets to at the end, talking about the culture, the question should be about how to best teach and learn math. I think that in and of itself is an extremely useful and valuable conversation.
Yes.
I don't know if it's even possible to have that discussion outside of the context of the culture wars, which is unfortunate because it's a valid question. And the bottom line is, like, in this country, nobody knows. We don't have a hardcore data set or example to look at and say, see, look here, this model right here is by far the best, that includes the most groups of kids, that also helps traditionally marginalized kids succeed while also simultaneously pushing kids into advanced tracks. Because at the end of it, and I'm going to shoot right down the middle on this one, I think there are valid arguments on both sides. You know, I do have questions about kids that demonstrate really advanced math aptitude early on, kind of like not being pushed to continue to learn more and accelerated because they can. And to sacrifice what they can do, I think, is an injustice to them. However, on the flip side,
and it's not equity.
It's not equity. And on the flip side, though, like, for sure, how, you know, teachers play the role of incredible gatekeepers, especially I think at elementary levels. And Robbie, I mean, obviously you know a lot more than me about this, about what class kids go in and what the quote unquote like ideal math student looks like, or how they demonstrate, or how they behave in class. And because math is, as Casey said, one of the last vestiges of tracking, those decisions really early on tend to play out in that same track over the course of a student's educational career. Now, they shouldn't, because you would hope that at some point teachers, you know, whether it's middle school or high school, are able to recognize that, like, a student should be in a different class, a more advanced class. I even hate to say that, but at some point there should be like an ability to move around. But because of how things are so siloed and segmented in math education, that everybody has this impression that nobody can ever skip a math class and be successful. So you can never skip algebra, or you couldn't skip geometry or whatever to get into like the next level class. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just the pervasive thinking that I see, that kind of really holds students that could be in different, more advanced, more whatever classes from being in those classes.
What's the argument for, and this is, I guess not being a math teacher puts me at a disadvantage in this, but like there's an argument to be made for whether it's social studies or English or other courses that are not math, that you could section out kids of differing abilities. So whether it's their vocabulary understanding, or their understanding of current events, or their understanding of different social studies concepts. I mean, could you not create a higher level course for social studies that incorporates more advanced thinking or more out of the box thinking? I mean, couldn't you not do that?
Could you not do that? Could you rephrase that question? Could you do it?
Sorry, it's poorly phrased. It's like, why don't we? I mean, you could easily create a higher level or advanced social studies class, couldn't you?
I mean, you're saying the argument I made could be made for any class.
Well, yeah, because we have like these different sections of math in different schools, right? And you have to do one to get to the other. but yet when I look at my students in social studies, like I have students who are, their ability to reason is different than other kids. Their ability to acquire or their understanding of different vocabulary is different. Their ability to think through arguments and different ideas in social studies is different. So I just feel like I struggle to understand personally why we can't make math that's more heterogeneously mixed based on where they are in their understanding of math concepts. That's where I'm at.
No, I think, yes, the answer is, once upon a time at the elementary level, it was not uncommon to find regrouping. That's what we called it back in the day, regrouping and reading as well. In other words, in a fourth grade classroom, 3 or 4 teachers of heterogeneous classes would regroup for reading, and you would track as early as 4th grade in reading, and you'd also be tracking in math. I think the other thing that it's not mentioned a lot in these pieces, but is something that has been talked about a lot over the decades in math instruction, is the content knowledge of teachers. That content knowledge in math for a teacher is vitally important. It can be a difficult subject to unpack for kids, and there is a lot of research that shows that elementary and middle school teachers who have really great content knowledge in math, paired with great instructional repertoires, are better.
Right.
You can't teach the math if you don't know the math, and that can be a problem. So I do think one of the ideas behind tracking is that teachers that had a better understanding. I'm not saying I'm for or against. I'm just saying the teachers that really understood it were the teachers that would often be the ones that taught the kids that were quote unquote ready to be accelerated or gifted or what have you. And so, the problem with the tracking or regrouping at the elementary level is always that, there's a sense that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It can be beneficial for one group, but at the same time, if you're regrouping and really just creating homogeneity for bright kids in math, or let's say high readiness kids in math, then you have classrooms of kids that are not quite as ready, and they're not exposed to kids that are stronger in math. And I will tell you, that gets more challenging for a teacher.
And the expectations game too. I mean, the teachers are bringing in those lower expectations.
The expectations conform to the track, and so it's a tough one to figure out. I've done it both ways. I taught in a completely heterogeneous math setting as a 4th grade and 5th grade teacher. I loved it. As a principal, I pushed regrouping in math. We actually did it because, I was working in a largely African American and Latino elementary school. When I got to that school, there were 12 5th graders that were taking 6th grade math. By my 3rd year, we had 60 kids taking 6th grade math, and almost all of them were Black or Latino. So we were accelerating kids. Now, then the question was, what were we doing for kids that needed more support? So, you've got to, can you do both? I think, but it is the age old question. I did want to read you one thing. I just want to pivot for 1 second, Mr. Krebs. I know you have something to say, but is it woke math? In Cal Matters, there's a piece that delves more deeply into the new framework in California. Critics lambast the new framework as woke math that I like this. I don't think I've ever seen this so education-ease. Demathematizes math with social justice lessons. And here you go, Mr. Sids, left-wing ideology. An open letter signed by over 1,000 STEM experts condemned the framework for suggesting that teachers highlight the quote, contributions that historically marginalized people have made to mathematics take a justice-oriented perspective at any grade level and use inclusive gender pronouns. Shocker, the Wall Street Journal is really the publication that has gotten everybody interested in the new California framework. But then I do want to throw this one out. One of the biggest groups in California that has aimed criticism at the new framework are folks in higher ed, and especially folks in the STEM fields in higher ed. And I do think, to Mr. Crable's point, I'm going to shoot right down the middle on this one. Joe Bowler pretty much says that they're sitting in their ivory towers and they don't understand public ed, and who are they to comment? But I'll also say, I've talked to you all about the curriculum reform movement in the 1960s. Higher ed has long had a significant and at times positive impact on the development of K-12 curriculum. And to just dismiss their opinions, I think is cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. And you segued nicely for me, because I was going to say, sometimes I feel like we get into these binary arguments of track kids or don't track kids, and that's going to solve the problem. Put them, do the highest level of tracking or no tracking whatsoever, and you get stuck in an argument when it's like, well, it's neither. And to your point, I think how math is taught is really at the crux of it, and how kids that are struggling, what are you doing to help them? I'm not entirely convinced that, some of the things that you had mentioned are the key to helping kids understand math better. I do think in general, having math be a little bit more relevant to kids as like a general statement is a good start. Now, obviously there's a lot of debate, and I think they would say we're trying to make it more relevant by putting in word problems from the community, or, coming up with issues that are specifically related to what they deal with and or know. And I do think that there's validity in that. But like you said, I mean, my caricature of math classes is largely shaped on like my experiences, where it was given a textbook and be like, okay, problems 1 to 50, do the
odd number ones.
Yep. And check your answers in the back. You know what I mean? And really no discussion. You're just a little automaton going through processes and without really understanding. Yeah.
True.
It's a good one. Without really understanding what you're doing. And
culturally, I was a part of the National Science Foundation study on elementary math instruction when I was an elementary school teacher, and I actually piloted Singapore math. So there were a number of elementary schools back in the mid to late 90s that adopted Singapore's nationalized math curriculum. A lot of countries, a lot of high achieving mathematics countries have, God forbid we ever do it, a national curriculum in a subject. And so we taught Singapore math to 4th and 5th graders. I won't go into all the details about how it worked or didn't work, but culturally there are both in this country and across the world, there are different ideas about how to teach math. I went and saw a mathematician, a teacher, speak at the National Science Foundation in like 1999. Her name was Liping Ma. She wrote a book, Knowing and Understanding Mathematics. And the way the Chinese teach math, which is completely different than our use of concrete materials and manipulatives in elementary schools, is the Chinese show kids multiple algorithms. So their whole way of teaching math is kids need to know as many different kinds of algorithms to solve a problem as possible. We've emphasized at the elementary level for decades that kids need to be able to touch and feel and manipulate materials to represent, kind of moving from the pictorial, from the concrete to the pictorial to the abstract. And that has long been the elementary model. Unfortunately, when you get into secondary education, as Peter has pointed out, it increasingly gets to I show and you do. So I show you this algorithm, you do it, I give you a little support while you do it, and then you practice it till you're blue in the face. And that doesn't work for a lot of kids. Sorry,
I totally agree with you, but I agree with you, Pete, as well, because like my feelings on math were informed on my own experiences in math in middle school and high school, which weren't great, not terrible, but not great. Certainly a lot of struggles. And I think like is using manipulatives, I actually have never used them, so I'm not making a judgment here. Do you think that's engaging, or is that engaging for kids based on your experience?
I think it's engaging, and I think they work.
Okay.
I think if you use fraction bars to show kids equivalent fractions as a concrete representation of an abstract concept, yes, it can be really helpful for kids. And if you have them sitting, using them, and discussing the math together, math discourse, which you guys have been around long enough to know when that was hip, that those are all good. I mean, they mention as a part of the framework cooperative learning, right? A lot of people still hate that idea in math.
But I guess the reason why I brought it up is because at face value, not being a math teacher, not having taught it, of course, using manipulatives for someone who's disengaged from math or struggling with math, for me, it is not at face value engaging. Or maybe the word choice is poor. Maybe it is engaging, but it certainly wouldn't be interesting to me, and doesn't seem like it would be relevant. And that quote in the Washington Post really stuck out to me: is making a subject interesting and relevant so that a student will engage with it isn't, she says, the nefarious liberal plot. It's just good teaching. And I don't know that I've ever experienced math instruction as a student, not as in a public school, where the math was made interesting or in a way that was like made it interesting for the students and relevant to their lives, other than saying, well, you need to learn how to, write a tip someday or something. So I don't know. I don't know that I've ever experienced that myself. And I don't know that it's how widespread it is. And I don't want to make any broad judgments as I normally do. So.
Yeah. And Bowler's point on all that. So she makes a couple points. So one is that when kids experience math failures at an early age, it gets hardwired into their brain that they're bad at math, and they can have long.
Yes. Which, is there any science behind?
I don't know if there's any science.
I read that too. Go ahead.
Just throwing it out there. I'm not putting it out there as fact, but just that's her argument, and that math can be boring for kids, and so she advocates for open-ended inquiry, right? And then the other side is that if you just give students open-ended problems, they feel lost because they don't necessarily have the tools to solve the problem. Right. And I think they're both right.
They're both right at the same time.
You need skills,
absolutely,
for sure, but you also need to know how to use those skills.
The hardcore math people will tell you inquiry is great, but if you don't know your basic facts, how are you going to do it? Right. Yeah. And I tend to fall more on the inquiry side of the argument. I think overall, holistically, it's a better way to teach across the board. But yes, we need to find ways to make sure that kids have the skills that they need. The conversation that we've just spent 20 minutes on is going to go on forever. I don't know if there's ever going to be an answer to this. And I would agree with Christine Emba that, I do think that school systems and schools need to try different ways to do it. I am a little bit fascinated. You all as millennials, especially you, Mr. Sids, you should have used manipulatives in a classroom in the 1990s when you were a kid. I'm
sure I did. Yeah.
You grew up in the manipulative sweet spot. You don't remember using digiblocks or cubes or any of that stuff?
I don't recall. I bet you I did. I just don't remember.
I remember cubes.
Yeah, I mean, because that's how they would teach place value.
Yep.
I remember number munchers. It was a computer game.
Of course it was. On like the Apple II, or what was it?
The Apple II.
Yeah. Was that
Apple II?
What was the one?
It was letter munchers and number munchers. It was great.
You totally now lost me. You're gonna have to take it out of this segment. Number munchers. Anyway, check out Christine Emba's piece in the Post. Is math racist? Wrong question. It was from December 15th, just a few days ago. And the Cal Matters piece is really long and I think pretty interesting. It's by Joe Hong. This was from a month ago, November 19th. And if you have any feedback on this discussion, you math folks out there, none of the three of us are dyed-in-the-wool math people, are we? Although Casey has claimed that he could teach calculus. If you just,
I would like to say for the record again,
What?
I take that comment back, and it was made in the heat of the moment. And it's so funny you brought it up because I was actually going to bring it up too. But
I do believe that was season 1 of Ed's Not Dead.
Yes,
that bold statement was made. All right, hit us with some show feedback on our math discussion, and don't go away, folks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ed's Not Dead. As always, Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education, a full-service educational media company specializing in leadership, instruction, and 21st century school reform. Mr. Siddons will be tweeting at Ed's Not Dead PC. So check us out. Yeah.
All week.
Check us out on Twitter. We have not talked about the impending holidays, or depending on how you view the holidays. With increasingly as I get older, I view them with stress and dread.
Oh dear.
I know it's really bad. We were just talking about stress in the when we were on break. But yeah, we gotta before we quit tonight, fellas, we gotta talk about our holiday wish list. All right. What are you wishing for? But before we get to that, I do believe we have a quiz.
Ding ding ding.
All right, Mr. Siddons, you're on. Current events? Right. Is that what we're doing today?
Current events. That's right. I got a nice set of questions. 3 questions for you each.
Are we doing the parallel questioning tracks, which tends to be your quiz format these days?
We're doing 3 for Dr. Dodd first, and then 3 for Krabs. Is that acceptable to you?
That is. I will say, because I do manage the quiz ledger. I lost in the last episode, right? Last show.
That you did.
Okay, that's right. Right. That's right. You have an opportunity to redeem yourself. All right, number 1.
You could be a little more energy. You're a little
I'm
sorry.
Low energy Jeb.
He's like reclining.
Yeah, I know.
Out of the lazy boy guy.
Come on, man.
All right. Low energy Jeb here. Number 1, Kentucky Governor blank expected the death toll in his state alone to be at least 80.
Brashear.
Devastating tornado.
Brashear.
Through 6 days. Close enough. Andy Bashir. That's correct.
Oh, did I put a B in there? A blend? I did a blend. Brashear.
Close enough. It's on Zoom.
All right.
Number 2, the military government of blank convicted former leader Aung San Suu Kyi on charges of incitement and breaking COVID rules and sentenced her to 2 years in prison. A, Myanmar, B, Thailand, or C, Bangladesh.
That is a tough one. Mr. Krabs, do you know that one?
I 100% know this one.
Whoa.
All right. Read it to me one more time.
And this one's the whole backstory is crazy too.
I missed this whole story. Was this in the Post?
I'm sure it was, but she won the Nobel Peace Prize a couple years ago, and then it's been quite a journey. Military government of blank convicted former leader Aung San Suu Kyi of charges of incitement and breaking COVID rules and sentenced her to 2 years in prison. A, Myanmar, B, Thailand, or C, Bangladesh.
I'm going to go with A, Myanmar.
That is correct.
Nice guess.
Ardiz. Well done. Okay. And number 3, the U.S. announced a diplomatic boycott of the upcoming Winter Olympics in the city of blank. A, Pyongyang, B, Beijing, or C, Tokyo.
I know that. It's first of all, it's not North Korea. Was that A?
Yeah, Pyongyang, yeah.
I'm going to go with B, Beijing.
Correct. That's 3 out of 3.
Very nice.
Very nicely done.
I thought they were pretty easy, but that's okay.
Wow.
Okay, all right.
I've been saying cold sauce a lot this week. I'm going to say cold sauce again.
That's a dottism.
That's a dottism. That's right. Number 1, Krabs. A UK court ruled that WikiLeaks founder Blank could be extradited to the US to face espionage charges, though his supporters called this ruling a blow to press freedom.
Julian Assange.
That is correct, without even the options. Assange. Looks like I'm not going to say what he looks like. Never mind.
Can I ask a Julian Assange question?
Sure.
His life didn't sound all that bad. Of getting to kind of
the Ecuadorian embassy.
Yeah, just staying inside and having people bring you food and wait on you. And I don't know. It didn't. I mean,
it's the equivalent of being a prisoner, but
Okay.
Well, there's some funny stories of the Ecuadorian embassy and getting sick of his presence because he was just so messy and disgusting. They had to clean up after him all the time. It's pretty funny.
Mr. Siddons, what's the capital of Ecuador?
Ooh, jeez.
I guarantee you Craig will knows this.
What's the first letter?
A Q.
Quito?
Very good. Good pull. CH. All right. Okay. Number 2. Sorry.
Number 2. Blank was sworn in as the new Chancellor of Germany. A. Klaus Brahl. B. Olaf Scholz. C. Florian Weber.
I don't know this one, but that last name, Florian Weber. That's what I'm going with.
Is W-E-B-R.
Is Florian related to Max Weber?
Max Weber? I don't know who that is.
Okay.
The correct answer is actually B. Olaf Scholz.
Okay, Dodd is the winner.
I still get a third. Let me get a consolation prize. Give me number 3.
All right, number 3. Best-selling author Anne Rice, known for Gothic novels such as Interview with a Blank, died at 80.
So this is a good. I got this one because this is a good one. So I went to school in New Orleans.
You did.
Going by the Anne Rice house was always a thing that people pointed out. So that would be Interview with a Vampire, and she was a native of New Orleans.
Yes,
that is correct. Well done.
She is probably most responsible for creating the vampire craze. And the movie Interview with a Vampire goes down in history as one of Tom Cruise's more unfortunate movie choices.
Was it a bad movie?
Oh, God, it's awful.
It was what year, first of all? Because I feel like I was a little on the young side to like.
All right, you're ready. This you're we know how good I am with this, but this is going to be a challenge, right? Mr. Siddons, do you have it queued up? Because I'm going to make a guess.
I'm ready to go.
All right, Interview with a Vampire is 1992.
That's disappointing.
94.
Oh, okay. All right. I was 2 years off.
I know. I would have given you 1 year plus or minus, but 2, no.
Okay. All right. No. Sorry.
I will say that Tom Cruise looking like a vampire looks really dumb.
It's really. And tell me his hair is not just appalling.
It's like slicked back or something.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
It was one of those times where he tried to. He did that a few times. He's done that a few, and he's pulled it off a few times. But that was not. It was just not a good movie. I'm trying to think who the other.
Brad Pitt.
Oh, it was Pitt. Yeah, it was their pairing. That's right, and it was supposed to be like this, cast of stars.
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, he was at like the height of his popularity then. Also, yeah, a bad movie.
Interesting.
All right, so Dodd wins this week.
That's right.
All right, so the holidays are upon us. If I am not incorrect, is Christmas on a Saturday? Is it the 25th of Saturday?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. So we are a week away. When this comes out, Mr. Graves, is this coming out? Is this dropping on the 20th? Monday the 20th?
You got it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So we'll be 5 days out from the big day. the Christmas wish list. I know you both still have pulses, so you both still want things, and you are men, boys. You like to get presents. What's on the holiday wish list? What do you want, Mr. Craves? Is it? I'm going to guess something related to an instrument or a tool.
I've been looking at instrument stuff and various things. So I don't know yet. And really, I'm all about buying things online, but really, instruments is something you got to go touch and feel. And so I've not done that yet. So that is not quite on the wish list. I did just buy myself one of the smokeless fire pits.
The solo stove.
I bought a solo stove. Yeah.
That's the Boomer Esiason. He trucks that on. He's always talking about that on the radio.
So I used it actually for the first time tonight, and we ordered pizza, and we were going to sit outside by the fire, and then about half an hour later, it started raining. So that was unfortunate. Yes, but it was pretty amazing. It really was.
I hear
awesome. Cool. It works.
It was awesome.
It works.
Yeah, it was A+.
Maybe I need to get myself a solo stove.
Yeah,
how much did it cost? What did it run?
Pricey.
Yeah, something like that. $200.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was like I got whatever it was I got on sale. It was like $100 off. So, but it was.
When you're talking instruments, you're not talking like a full on guitar or bass or anything like that. Are you talking about equipment or?
I want a new keyboard. I want a bigger keyboard.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have like a little 3-octave.
An 86 keyer.
Yeah, I need more keys. So a lot of the stuff I do, I'm not good, but I need a little bit more room to maneuver on the ivories.
Are you doing kind of an Eddie Van Halen transition from the strings from the guitar and bass to the keyboard? You're going to be playing Jump soon.
I'm going to find a little synthesizer and rock out. Yeah. It's it's a new thing. It's challenging. Something you don't really know how to do all that well. So you're kind of figuring it out, and when you accomplish something, you feel satisfied, like you've done something new, and so that's kind of the approach that I'm currently in.
That's very cool.
It's very growth mindset of you.
Yeah, it is very growth mindset. And Mr. Graves is good at that. You are too, Mr. Siddons, and trying new things. All right, Mr. Siddons, what's on the wish list?
I want two things. One is a season pass to Whitegrass cross country skiing.
Oh, you a hardcore cross country skier in recent years.
All I need to do is pull up, park anywhere I want, and I walk and I go into the woods. And the second thing is to be left alone. I want to be left alone to sit around and read or do nothing. That's what I want.
That is a fantastic.
I'm a cheap date.
I don't think you're going to get number 2, but I think you might get number 1.
Yeah.
It's a high probability for number 1.
Yeah. Number one sounds likely because it's doable.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if the next probably 15 years of your life you're going to get to.
No. But if we go to my in-laws, they'll watch Frida and I'll be able to hang out and not be on call. Yeah.
What's on the Dodd list?
You know what? I've already got it. I
getting some new shiny reels.
I didn't request any fishing gear. I'm kind of at a point, and maybe Mr. Crable can relate to this with some of his more high ticket musical items. We're gonna go way inside fly fishing, boring here just for a second.
Some Orvis gear.
Well, I mean, really nice fly rods and nice fly reels it's kind of like golf clubs. They've gotten to the point. I mean, you could lay down $1,500. And then there's not a lot in between. So I'm just not in a place anymore where I would like to get myself a new, really nice outfit, but you
don't like to spend money on yourself though.
No, but so my gift to myself was, and my wife already got it for me and I already have it, was, I dropped a few LBs and she got me a very nice new Hugo Boss suit.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've fallen in love with Hugo Boss lately.
What color?
It's kind of a houndstooth. It's kind of a winter suit.
Oh,
yeah, it's a nice get up. And just so you know, listeners out there, totally shocking. Macy's actually sells Boss now. And Craves, I ordered this suit online. You wouldn't think that you could order a suit online, and I ordered it online through Macy's.com, and it fit. I was amazed. I had to get it altered a little bit, but awesome. So that's
like
good.
a glove.
So I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know what other than that I'm getting. I did request a couple of flannel shirts. I always like flannel shirts at Christmas.
You can't go wrong with a good flannel.
All right, so fellas, I hope you have a wonderful season with your families. You're in a magical time. You've got Frida. Crable's got the 3 little Hessians over there. It should be Friday night for you all is magical, is it not?
It is. I love Friday nights.
Yeah, Friday night, Christmas Eve.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, are you leaving the cookies out and
of course,
are the kids getting excited? It is a fun.
I mean, they've asked about when Christmas is. We put up the tree prior to Thanksgiving this year, so yeah, there's been a lot of excitement in the house.
Very nice, very nice. I don't even have a tree. I'm going to get one tomorrow. So
okay,
we're a little behind. Santa's on the roof though. You guys know my Santa, right?
Oh yeah, you got a nice outdoor getup.
Yeah, I went all out again this year. All right, as always, Ed's Not Dead is brought to you by Pulp Education, a full service educational media company specializing in leadership instruction and 21st century school reform. Check us out on Twitter at Ed's Not Dead PC, and of course the website edsnotdead.com. We would love to get more show feedback. So give us a rating on iTunes, right? We always want that.
Right.
And subscribe to Ed's Not Dead. We need it. Spread the word. And when is the winter mailbag episode? First of all, when are we recording it?
Oh, well, that's the kicker. Very soon.
Let's whenever we record it, let's tell listeners it'll be out after Christmas and before January 7th.
Are you guys away? Are you guys away between Christmas and the New Year?
No, we're here. Yeah, we should.
All right. Well, we don't have to work, so let's do it. Let's record one of those.
I'm down.
That'll be fun. All right. We can see Mr. Crable's new synthesizer. All right. To all our listeners out there, thanks for always tuning in. Spread the word about Ed's Not Dead, boys. It's great to see you. If I don't see you in person before the 25th of December, Merry Christmas. But I'll see you before the new year. And we'll talk to you soon. Later, fellas.
Later.